Romans Levi Edwards.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you very much. Good to catch up, Si.
No worries at all. No worries at all. How's lockdown treating you, Levi?
It's going well. It's obviously very, very different. Everybody's experiencing life in kind of a completely different way than a lot of us are used to. But yeah, just staying busy. The offensive playbook has probably grown exponentially. So just kind of investing myself in football and spending time with family. Just kind of making the most of the time off from kind of other responsibilities. But yeah, just kind of diving into football and learning as much as possible. So all good on the most part.
So you've been busy beavering away in a playbook.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been crazy. Just kind of watching every clinic and kind of diving into as much material as I can get my hands on. But you watch something and it's, wow, that's a great idea. I love that. End up with 9,000 pages of a playbook written up, and it's like, yeah, we're not going to get to any of this at any point. But yeah, no, it's been really good. It's been fun. I've been able to learn a lot. So.
Awesome, great. For anybody who doesn't know you, could you just do us a bit of an introduction in terms of your background and I guess your time with the Romans as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am originally from Savannah, Georgia, in the southern United States. I attended Benedictine Military High School. That's where I kind of fell in love with football. So I worked as a student assistant during my 4 years in high school there. Subsequently went off to university, first at Valdosta State and then at Georgia Southern, and was kind of loosely around some of those programs in what I was doing with my degree programs. All the while still kind of volunteering how and when I could with the high school. And then after that, I spent a year kind of full time there, just again as an assistant, learning, picking up as much as I could. And then we transitioned over as a family over to the UK. So then got involved with the Romans when I first came over. I was just kind of looking for something that reminded me of home and kind of something I could relate to a little bit. So got involved with the Romans, started off coaching a little bit of defense here and there and just kind of progressed up. And then the vacancy came open for the head coaching position. It was something I was really interested in. I was ready to make that next step. So I made that jump. Now it's been, this was going to be season 3 as head coach. This is my 4th year with the Romans. And that makes probably, about 10 years, 11 years total coaching in and around the game. So varied kind of levels, varied experience. I've been very lucky with some really cool places, won state championships, so on and so forth. But I'm really enjoying the challenge that coaching with the Romans and coaching in the UK really presents. So.
Great. And how's COVID affected you in terms of your plans? Because obviously heading into sort of year 3, second year in the Division 1, how's that affected your sort of mindset and what you were planning to do for this year?
Yeah, so it's definitely been kind of that spanner in the works. I'm kind of super meticulous with stuff. Probably the guys on the coaching staff would probably say to a ridiculous level. So everything is planned out to the second, from the time we start to the time we finish, all the way through the season. So it was a massive culture shock to kind of get thrown off like that. But like everything, you have to learn to adapt, and you have to learn to kind of make the most of the situations you have. So staying in contact with guys, kind of checking in, making sure that the things outside of football were taken care of. Making sure that guys were in okay positions, everybody was doing okay, everybody wasn't struggling too bad. So that was kind of our first approach. And then outside of that, it's kind of slowly but surely working ourselves back into football, whether we're doing it with kind of the interactive Microsoft Teams, stuff like that. If we're doing it with different kind of video chats, doing as much classroom, as much install as we can with the guys, just keep everybody involved, invested. And like I always say to the guys, football presents a fantastic opportunity to kind of get away from the craziness of everything. So again, just kind of giving guys an outlet to be involved in something that isn't the craziness that's going on in the world right now. So.
And just on that, I guess, there's 2 big points for discussion at the moment that are kind of going on in the world away from football, and coronavirus being one of them, and the other one around sort of Black Lives Matter. How's the sort of the recent developments? Obviously, an ex USA sort of citizen. How are you feeling at the moment with everything that's going on across the pond?
It's difficult, and it's terrible, because it's coming from there and not being there now. You feel like there's so much more you could do, and I battled with it after kind of the events in Minneapolis. Kind of battled with it and thought long and hard on how I could make a difference and what I could do, and then I battled the feelings of, well, what does anybody really care about what I have to say? I'm a white male football coach in the UK. How can I make a difference? And then it kind of dawned on me after reflecting and reading that to stay silent and to not say anything and to not kind of involve myself in that process was just unacceptable. So trying to really help educate both the guys that I associate with here, whether it be with the Romans, whether it's at the university, but trying to make my individual mark, and really help people understand that Black Lives Matter, and that nobody, regardless of race, religious beliefs, sexual orientation, should ever be made to feel less than human. And that's what you watch in these videos, is these people are treated horrendously. They're not given the basic rights that everybody deserves. And to stay silent on that, just it wasn't something I was prepared to do. So speaking out, being involved, listening, because I don't have the answers and I don't know how we can really take proactive steps forward. But being able to listen and to help people in any way that I can is what I'm here to do. Make sure everybody is given those most basic of rights and everybody's treated equally. So yeah, it's tough. It's a very divisive time, but it's something that, if everybody is working together with the same common goal, it's definitely something that can be addressed and improved. So
yeah, I mean, it's definitely a difficult situation to talk about. So I appreciate your views on that, because I think it's one of those things that it's very, as you say, divisive. Lots of people have different views, so it's one of those times where you do need to speak your mind, and I think it's important that people do. So moving back into the world of Britball and think all things football, in terms of, you mentioned earlier around coaching and doing some things via virtual sort of means, what are your plans when restrictions are lifted, in terms of doing training and more, I guess, contact and outside sort of bits and bobs with either players or with coaches directly?
Yeah, so it's, again, we're following kind of the mandates we're given from both our governing body with BAFA and from the government. I think I met with the coaches interactively last week, and we all kind of agreed that, to a certain extent, nobody really knows, and nobody has the answers, and nobody knows the best way to move forward. So we wanted to be in agreement that it was going to be a slow process, that there was no right or wrong way to approach it. But obviously we'll be excited when we're allowed to get back out there and get back on the field. In the sport of American football, it's not one that is kind of built for socially distanced restrictions. Obviously, just the nature of the game is not built like that. So it's going to be tough sledding to start off with, but we can definitely get stuff accomplished with the restrictions that have been set. It's a lot of individual work that can be done, stuff that can be done just very, very simply with no equipment, and with kind of following all the guidelines. But the big one for us we wanted to focus on was the mental side of it. Obviously, our timeframes are so limited in Britball that you don't get a lot of time to work with your guys. So why not look outside the box think creatively on some different ways we could still have that contact with our players just virtually. So Microsoft Teams has been fantastic for us. The ability to have positional meetings, to share files, to kind of collaborate on a lot of different stuff is and continue to be fantastic for us as an organization. So yeah, just trying to make the most of the situation and keep getting better, no matter what the parameters are on that. It's just trying to kind of improve as a program as we go through.
Yeah, as you say, it's one of those sports that's quite hard to do without getting out there and actually being with other people. So as you say, I think it's the playbook stuff and doing installs as best as you can. But no, that's great. In terms of the team, training started sort of back end of I guess last year, start of this year, in terms of us training and things kind of kicking off with camp as well. Were there players that you would classify as an exciting prospect that you were really keen to get out on the field and see what they could do, either from last season to this season, or a rookie that had really sort of taken an interest and had really kind of caught your eye in terms of either camp or training, that you were sort of really keen to see what they could bring when game day came?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, we were able to go through kind of essentially the majority of our regular preseason, and we got all the way through camp. And it's crazy that camp was actually the last thing we were able to do together as a team, because we'd really started to put it together. So obviously, this being year 3, it starts off as a 3-year plan. So when I took over, it was a 3-year plan of what we kind of looked to achieve and what we were wanting to do. So year 3 was kind of the big one for us, where it was starting to really turn the corner. After creating our program culture and kind of what we want to do and who we want to be. So we were really excited to get back on the field. And then when we did, it started to come together really well. The offensive line had taken massive leaps. The kind of recruitment from the university was also really big for us. Some just tremendously talented athletes coming in from the university. I know Ed Miller and those guys have done a fantastic job over there, just laying the foundation for a really up and coming program. So it was really exciting to get some of those guys in that were just unbelievably natural athletes that just slot in straight away for us and could contribute massively. We're getting a lot of production from the skill guys as well. We got a really kind of experienced group on the offensive skill side with the receivers, quarterback, running backs. So we're really excited offensively to see what some of these guys could do. I know we were quite young defensively in terms of a lot of new guys, but we brought in Si Purcell this year on the defensive side and kind of reworked the defensive staff. And just the leaps and bounds those guys had made as well. It was tough because everything was really starting to come together, and it was kind of getting to that good spot where you're like, okay, we got through camp, we're happy with where we're at, really starting to click and gel, and then obviously we're all struck with this. So the big one is just picking up on where we left off with those guys. Again, bringing in some new guys. The recruiting never stops, so you gotta constantly be looking for ways to improve, and that's the goal. Just keep getting better, kind of across the board, as a team and within every unit that we're putting out into the field. So
you mentioned Si Purcell there. I think one of the sort of main appointments in the off season for coaching staff at the Romans. What are your thoughts on Si, his background, his approach, and what he's brought to the team?
Si has been fantastic. We on the defensive side, we'd had a lot of mix and match. We had some fantastic coaches in Gary Firmage and Dave Goodall, but for one reason or the other, kind of the family commitments, work commitments, it was a lot to ask. So those guys gave absolutely everything they could and more. And I couldn't thank those guys enough for how hard they worked. But at the end of last season, it was that conversation where it's like, okay, we're going to have to step back just based on family. And we said all along with the coaches that family always comes first over everything. So then kind of getting out into the recruiting process to see who was around that was available. and Si's name came up. So it kind of started with a couple messages, and then we met a couple times, and just his energy, just the natural love of football, and obviously it's just the football IQ is off the charts. You think you kind of understand things, and then you speak with Si, and it's like, wow, I really didn't understand how that worked at all. So he has been such a fantastic addition for us on the staff. He's improved me as a coach because I had so much to learn from him, in him doing it at the highest levels in this country. Just the same with Dave Paulson. Bringing Dave in was a massive addition for us the season before. Just surrounding our players with guys that have been at the highest levels, that understand football, that understand how to teach. Because you can know football, but it's a lot different trying to teach that game to people. So yeah, just really happy with where the staff is, and again, bringing in Si was fantastic. Kind of energized the defensive side of the ball, and energized me as well. It was fantastic having him. So.
Yeah, I think, speaking personally, I think the impact that the Si's had on a lot of the defensive rookies that have came in during lots of the rookie days that we did. I think just in terms of that engagement and getting people hooked on the sport from sort of day one, he's great at that. In terms of players and roster, what's on your shopping list heading into next year?
So I'm gonna need 4 defensive linemen, about 6'8", about 350. Take a couple outside receivers that can run 4.4s. A couple quarterbacks that went in the draft. They probably fit pretty well into our system. Now, all jokes aside, we're always recruiting, and we're always looking for guys that want to make our program better. It doesn't matter whether they've played for 10 years or whether they've played for 10 minutes, or whether they put the shoulder pads on backwards the first time. We're just always looking for guys that we're going to work hard, that are going to buy into our team culture. They're going to look to kind of embrace our Roman kind of team values, and they just want to get better and want to win as a team. So positionally, there's nothing that stands out. We've got a great group, and we're really excited about what these guys can do. But yeah, we're always open to bringing new people in and people that want to get involved.
Absolutely. Great. In terms of the season that never was, 2020, what was the game that you were looking forward to the most?
It's all of them. Every opportunity we get to get out there and kind of put all that hard work into kind of fruition is awesome for me. Seeing how hard these guys work at practice, seeing how hard they work in the classroom, how hard these guys are working in the weight room as well. It's great to see that pay off for the guys. So every opportunity we get to kind of put it all together, I cherish and I really enjoy. So not one that stands out over the other, I don't think.
No worries. In terms of strengths, you talked quite at length there about things that you feel are quite strong in terms of the wide receiver group and some of the other skill sort of groups. In terms of your areas for kind of development and focused coaching, in terms of really kind of raising the bar and elevating either rookies that have come in or helping guys step up who've been in the ranks for a couple of years, where's that sort of that area of focus that you're going to be keen to spend that extra 10% and elevate the sort of that group up a little bit more?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a certain position, a certain group, a certain unit. I think I have so much to learn, and I think then that trickles down. So if I always have that desire to get better, I feel like that becomes infectious throughout the team. So we talk about it a lot, about wanting to be the best and to do the things that are required. But yeah, I think it starts with me. I think I need to do everything I can to be the best version of myself, so that I can ensure that these guys are getting everything they need. So if I'm not constantly learning, if I'm not doing everything I can to improve this program, then I'm letting all those guys down, because they're putting in the hard work. So it'd be only fair that I and the coaching staff and all of us as a whole are doing the same. Outside of that, I think it's just very much everybody kind of staying within ourselves and building on what we've already kind of put in place. So building on the culture and kind of instilling that into any new players that are coming in. Really having them understand the way we do things. Yes, it's a little different, but we do it for a reason. So understanding the why behind what we do, why we do it, and so on and so forth is kind of the big one. It's kind of what we'd look to lay the foundation with the guys. So that's a big one.
Great. And I guess the last question for me is just around you and how you've kind of kept sane during COVID. So you mentioned that you've been doing a lot of playbook stuff, but aside away from football, any Netflix series or any hobbies that you've kind of got stuck into that's kept you sane during the last 12 weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. There comes a point where the family cuts me off from watching film. So obviously, kind of right before lockdown started, the Tiger King was awesome. Joe Exotic and the crew was a lot of fun. So love that. My girlfriend has kind of got me addicted to Glee, so it's a little guilty pleasure. Starts off by just it's on in the background, and then I'm sneakily singing away at everything. So that's been another one. Big on like the crime series and stuff like that. So there's a good one on Jeffrey Epstein, a little dark, but some good stuff there. But yeah, just a mix, a little lighthearted family laughing stuff, and then just kind of some darker crime series and stuff like that. Those are kind of my go-tos.